Hi, it's Bob Tersak here at Brilliant. It's the end of a long day, a long couple of weeks, but we have finished a lot of projects. And Peter said something to me the other day about how many really cool things we've done recently that have released really quickly, one right behind the other. So I'm going to take as quick as I can and just go through a few things. First really cool book is for Robert Stevens. If you don't follow Robert Stevens on Instagram, you should. I believe his handle is La Flaneur, which is French for the wanderer. And these are images from Robert Stevens from Paris. And we have two Paris books happening right now, but this is, they're both similar in that they're kind of reflections and reminiscing on their favorite places in Paris. This is a really nice little book. I love Robert's work. I really like his posts on Instagram. I enjoy following them. This I talked about last week. This is one of my favorite production, Craig Vaught's. This is printed digitally, as is Robert Stevens' book, and bound, sewn, and soft cover on Craig's. This is a book for Rocky Garcia. Rocky, we've never met personally. He's a client from California area, I believe San Francisco area. And Rocky spent a lot of time photographing jazz musicians during the 70s, and this book, Darker Than Blue, is a retrospective on a lot of his work. Rocky does some really cool work and has a very distinctive style. This is a page showing some movement. Very nice production. Rocky did a great job with this. This book is magnificent. This is by Jonathan Leavitt. This is his first edition, if you can believe it. It's called 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. It follows that poem by the same name. And Jonathan has a beautiful, delicate style of street photography. I am in awe of some of these pictures. There's one of my favorites. So many really beautiful. Again, look at the motion in that. This was designed by Phil Unetic. We have quarter binding with actual silk screening on the bind edge there, showing a feather pattern. Really lovely. This book, my goodness, this job was in here for well over a year. This is for the University of Pennsylvania Library. It was for an exhibition on the Maryland silkscreen prints by Andy Warhol. And it was in here for so long because of permissions and all kinds of background things that took place. But this book, I'm not doing it justice here, but there are 13 colors in this book. We actually were graced with having these originals here on site, on press, to do precision museum matches of the art. Again, 13 colors when you count the different varnishes we used. There are fluorescent colors in here that match the originals, but it's more than just the Maryland pictures. There's a whole lineage of background and stories here. The collector, Gregory McCoy, supplied a lot of the insight and had a lot to do with this production. He really lived this book and gave birth to it. We may have done the printing and worked with him on that, but he truly gave birth to it. This has a French folded dust jacket, and I just wanted to show the cover here really quickly. We have two foils showing an abstract of one of the Maryland's eyes. And then to make this book accessible to as many as possible, it was produced as both a hardbound and a softbound edition. Both versions were sewn. The softbound has flaps and film lamination on the outside. So if you're interested in one of these, you can go to the University of Penn Library. I am sure that they have it there. So talk about a little pressure. This book was designed by Tom Joyce of Creative Works. And this is an autobiography by one of the public printers of the United States. I believe it was under the Bush administration. So talk about pressure again. Top printer in the United States. He'll be looking at this with a critical eye, I'm sure. This is the book block. It's currently out at the binder. I met a photographer in New York, Guy Arak, who produced this zine, first edition, called Spectacle. Guy and his wife photograph eyewear. And wow, I mean, the work in here is really something. Here's some really cool shots that he did. So it tells a whole lot more than just eyewear. He's quite the artist and a bit of a poet. size of books. This is a big discussion. What a jewel this book is. This is a book of paintings of birds. There's a real story to this artist, and I'm eager to tell it. I'm not going to share too much now, but the cover to this is paper over 3mm board with spot UV on top of matte film lamination for the title, and it really sets it off. One of the nice touches here, the edges are painted black. So all together when you're holding this, it really is a neat little artifact. I love looking at this. This one is by Jack Bradley. Another great story behind this. One of the neat things about this book is I always tell artists that their book is going to be successful in proportion to the footwork that they put behind the book. This book, produced by Mike Persico, is now, I think he just sold his 60th book, just released 3 weeks ago, something like that. And he's got 60 sold. This, again, if you're at all into music, actually, if you're just into history, this has a lot of really wonderful photos in here, and the credits really help tell the story. So if you're not super familiar with jazz, but have a light affiliation, this tells you a lot more. This one, really here of Louis Armstrong, is that not a classic face of him blowing a horn? For those of you that even follow close or remotely from jazz, what a great photo. We do work as well for other organizations and designers. This is a piece we did for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We've worked for them for a number of years. They wanted a subtle way to set this cover apart. We have a spot clear UV design around the front. And this production is now, I believe it's dropping in the mail tomorrow. And then a lot of folks don't know, but we do framing and exhibition prints. This is a piece for Greg Branson behind me here. Greg shot that with a Nikon D8, but with a Zeiss lens. And wow, is that thing sharp. I mean, it is not over or artificially sharpened. It's just a magnificently handled image. I really love looking at it, and the composition keeps on leading you up and up and up. So that's printed on newer paper that I'm really happy with. It's a type of Barita. But I would say if Barita and Platine got together and had a baby, that's what that paper is. And I'm really, really happy with it. And then to the right, one of my very oldest customers and a dear friend, Dick Perez, is producing work like Ralph Gibson. I think Ralph's 84, Dick is 82. Those guys are both prolific, pushing work out the door. And Dick is being featured in a documentary right now. And we framed a number of his pieces that are going to auction. This one, I think that's Aaron Judge, is waiting for its buyer to get back from vacation. Then we'll be shipping that out. This is quite an exciting project we're doing here. This is for Ralph Gibson. It is his magnus opus. It is on a 50-year love affair with France. There are images in here that date back truly over that span of 5 decades. Ralph produced a book, Refractions 2, with us, and we put a nice spot gloss varnish on there. The images really sing, but he didn't want that much gloss on these. So we wound up with a special combination of varnishes, running them at a certain density to produce protection, to give us a perceived increase in the Dmax, but not have a really harsh gloss coming off of them. Not matte, because matte really does push the Dmax back, but it's a nice combination, and I'm loving this sheet. This is one of my favorite forms that I have in here. This is a finished stock dummy we produced. This is using a Sahi cloth. This book has some heft to it. It's 300+ pages, and I'm very excited to talk about this. We're hoping to release that book very early fall. I think it is destined for the opening of the new Leica flagship store in New York City as the premiere, but I also know that there's a signing coming up at the French Embassy and 2 or 3 other venues, so that's a lot that we have there. So that's it. Just wanted to give you a quick rundown. Lots of things happening, more to come. Thanks for listening.